Namaste, everyone. I'm going to give you Kundalini Yoga for the full moon eclipse in Capricorn that is happening in early July 2020. This is a time, an activational time, where we get to build the future timeline that is most creative for this planet, for our personal lives, for our lineage, but also for this planet Earth. Okay, so Capricorn is the highest status, right? We can think, right? When I say status, I'm seeing as the manifester, right? We think of Taurus as manifesting from one's talents and gifts, right? Developing the virtues that one needs to be excellent. But we're thinking of Capricorn as the great wealth of our determination, our resilience, our dedication, and the sort of fruitfulness of that, sort of reaping what you sow when it comes to the wealth that you've put into yourself and the wealth sustaining in your life. So the Capricorn is this cosmic events that we have multiple things going on. It's going to work a lot with the deconstruction of what is not working for us. It will become so evident. It will become so obvious to us, and we're going to need to be more innovative. And that's what the Aquarian age is about. We need to become more innovative. So this Capricorn is giving us that sort of executive mind to delegate, to organize, to get very clear, and to get very motivated in what it is that we are wanting to focus on and build within our lives, right? So that can just be holding a vision, right? There's a great message about holding the vision, right, for this future timeline. And this future timeline is of a creative future, right? We can have the timeline of the extinction, mass population, pollution, toxins, bad behavior, all this mayhem and chaos and continued war and that sort of destruction timeline. But this particular full moon eclipse in Capricorn is encouraging us to build within ourselves the timeline that is the most creative, right? Because you can see on this world that, people are, you get to choose your own adventure when it comes to your particular timeline and how much wealth you can generate in this life. And wealth is many things. And the first sort of founding ground to wealth is your tribe. It's your lineage, right? Wealth in many ways, like a forest, it doesn't just come out of your ass, right? There's a sense of momentum that has been built, like the momentum we call about a tree, right? There's a process to it. There's a tribe with it. There's a sort of lineage with it. There's an arc of knowledge that has been shared and has been practiced and perfected for many, many generations, for many seasons of growth, right? Death and rebirth, death and rebirth. So the Capricorn has to do with higher wealth, right? Capricorn is the I want the higher wealth, right? And the higher wealth is associated with your direction, your projection, and your ability to get grounded and to be honest with yourself, right? Capricorn is very much about being that executive mind. It's about being that leader for yourself, right? It's about being honest with yourself, being real, right? Not just avoiding or denying yourself, right? Because the polarity is the Cancer, and Cancer has everything to do with your ability to get real with yourself and to connect with the nutrients this earth has, to use it to help you get the energy you need to continue to work and to move forward, right? We think the Capricorn as working, right? We think of it as like the boss, right? The one who oversees everything and has the energy, the knowledge to be able to do that. But there's a sense of needing to be very honest with yourself. You can be very compassionate, but there's a sense of being very direct, right? It's like time is of the essence is kind of the message, right? Time is of the essence. And a lot of these things, like I said, they're not just going to be given, right? A lot of these things, when it comes to the future timelines, it's going to be something we have to initiate ourselves into, right? We have to actually we have to use our innovation to find this you can say this spiritual adjustment that we need in order to unlock door number 2 or door number 4, or the door, right? The next door, right? And it's on us. And that's a Capricorn. It's a sense of responsibility. It's on you to be able to initiate yourself, right? To when you're feeling that I don't have much energy, to find a reserve of energy within yourself, right? There's this Capricorn, you know, being the boss, being the executive mind, overseeing many things, is really about, we're wanting to build this bridge into the timeline that is most creative for this planet. We're really wanting to build a renaissance. And we very much are having the sort of beginning stages of that when it comes to, you can say, health and wellness, that is trying, in many ways, is getting a footing, is getting enough trying, is getting a footing when it comes to the momentum of the future wellness and future relationship with one's ability to care for the mental health, the physical health, the emotional health, and that type of thing, right? A totally new relationship and relating to the body, the mind, the spirit, right? And we're basically wanting to create a bridge to the next renaissance. But this next renaissance, the Aquarian age, is going to demand innovation. It's going to demand people a whole new culture, a whole new way of connecting to this earth that we're not going to find just waiting for it to fall from the sky, right? Like it's like celestial rain, waiting for the celestial rain to give us the download or to give us the inspiration. There's a sense of needing to participate, needing to get involved, and needing to practice. That's Capricorn in the Taurus, right? We talk about the earth energy. Taurus is like, I know how to practice. I know how to see it through. I know how to get things done. I know how to manage things. But Capricorn takes that up to another level. That's like, I know how to build actual establishments with multiple people involved, right? Like multiple layers and multiple dimensions and multiple sort of positions of that. So we're looking at overseeing ourselves and how we can get more honest with what it is that we really want, right? And what it is that we need to practice within ourselves, right? What momentum do we want to create moving forward? That's the real question. What momentum do we want to create moving forward from this full moon eclipse in Capricorn into 2021, 2022? Because major destruction in the sort of relationship we're having with this planet, ourselves, even with money that is being completely re-identified, reinvented, as we as human beings are becoming quite innovative, and we're becoming quite resilient when it comes to our ideas, our creative projects, our endeavors. Because, you know, you see the younger generations, the millennials, the Gen Z, the MTV generation, you're seeing this whole wave of there's a new relationship with money and resources, right? And that new relationship is promoting this idea within people's that we are needing to muscle up the energy, the strength to get some things done, right? get things, there's a sense of needing to get things done, right? Needing to follow through, right? It's like we always, now is the time. In many ways, we're waiting for somebody else to do something, or, waiting for whatever it is there's a sense of now is the time. That's that Capricorn is sort of executive mind, right? You're looking at the past, present, future, and you're saying now is the time for me to actually follow through on what I have been projecting within myself for very long. It's time for me to actually get my hands on something and start to mold it, start to work with it, right? Sculpt it, right? And in delegating and organizing our life, we're starting to get real with the programs that we have in our head. The programs, the fantasies, the obsessions, the things that are just they're not working for us. And we know it, right? Capricorn is like physical results, right? And it's understanding that those physical results come through the sort of dedication one has to their renaissance. And that renaissance first starts out as the renaissance within your own flow, within your own creativity, and then that can extend into your business projects, or your entrepreneurship, or your company, your corporation, right? First, it starts as the renaissance in your own creativity, right? And you being in the flow with that, and you getting and managing your life, right? Just the life that's around you in connection to your creativity and your flow. That can be your intimate relationship, right? That can be your acquaintances, your friends, your colleagues, you could see even like-minded people that you're surrounded with. That's the first renaissance. This first Capricorn energy is building up the creativity you need, right? That's this, when we're talking about Capricorn, it's like, I want to build, it's like the longevity. It thinks in terms of 500 years. Capricorn thinks in terms of 500 years, 1,000 years. It doesn't think in terms of tomorrow, right? And that's why for Capricorn, time is now. That 500 years in the future will be long gone, but it's now, right? It's now that we have to create this sort of momentum, this renaissance within ourselves to be able to crack open, break through this life force that wants to potentiate further, wants to initiate further, right? So Capricorn, we think of the boss, we think of very intimidating, very intense, very electrifying, very activational. Like when you're around that Capricorn energy, it's very activational, very, very activational, right? Because it gives you this sort of transmission of now is the time. This is sort of like the Saturn type of whip, we'll say, where it's like, now's the time, like wake up, right? The Saturn teacher is basically like the sort of loud noise saying wake up, right? Get things done, follow through, right? Because a lot of us, there's a sort of trance on this planet. When you come into this earth, when you incarnate, there's a sound that's, we can't really sense it because we're born into it, we're used to it. But there's a sort of trance-like sound on this planet that when you get hypnotically interlocked with it, like some people are hypnotically interlocked with it, and what it does is it has you in this sort of spacey, hazy, forgetful, sort of confused state where you're just like, almost like you're spaced out, right? You're not even like paying attention to anything that's going on. You're misdirected, right? So instead of paying attention on what actually has life force, what's activational, what's actually going to give you the creative boost, energy you actually need to gain this wealth, you're caught in this haze. You're caught in this sort of noise, this sort of confusion, this forgetfulness, this indecisiveness, right? The Capricorn, the most unattractive thing to a Capricorn is this indecisiveness, right? Because it implies that you don't have leadership, right? If you're so in the haze about your fear and doubt, have no sense of grab of your fear and doubt, and it's just kind of in this haze with it, nothing will ever get done, right? So that's the kind of what the planet presents us, this type of this, this magic show, right? As Yogi Bhajan has called it, this magic show, this sort of matrix, where a lot of it just puts you in this sort of trance. Even when you look on, like, social media, or the commercials on, like, YouTube, or what, it almost like puts you in this sort of hypnotic, like, confused, sort of hazy, like, distracted type of, what was I thinking about? What? I forget. Right, this sort of, what you were thinking about, it just leaves, because you get in this hazy type of trance with this earth, right? That really, it does nothing for the building up the wealth of you as an individual, and you as in your reality, right? So that haziness, that confusion, that sort of indecisiveness, that sort of, I'm intimidated, I'm triggered, I'm intense, it's too intense, it's too electrifying. That's not reality. Reality is just that. It is just that. Reality is intensity. It is intimidation. It is electrifying. It is activational. It's not this elusive type of hazy, oh, eventually, maybe, possibly. No, it's very intuition through the Capricorn Saturn energy is actually very direct, right? It's the time. It's not the time. When it is the time, now, go, right? But a lot of us, again, this sort of, what we're in, that hazy type of state that a lot of us get into, we make excuses. We're too moody. We make excuses. We're like, well, I don't have the energy to do that. Like, I don't want that challenge. Oh, that's just more burden in my life. Like, these are the type of things we say. Oh, I have an excuse. Yeah. Or I'm too moody. I don't want that. It's going to bring more burden for me. That's just going to challenge me. I don't want that. Like, that kind of thing. And then what happens is we end up not having any intensity, not having any intimidation, not having any activation, not having any electrifying experience, and then just find ourselves with no energy to do anything, having no fire on our ass to actually do anything. Renaissance is exactly the intensity in intimidation, that sort of electrifying feeling, that sort of thunderbolt, we'll call it, that sort of lightning. Any Renaissance, you think of it, you basically, the whole sort of imagery of it is a light bulb. Any Renaissance is basically a light bulb, which is about electricity, right? It's being activated. There's something activational to it. When we think of the ancient past, the ancient Egyptians, Sumerian, Atlantis, we're thinking of a civilization that is highly activated. They're very direct. They're very clear. They're very straight forward, right? Because that's what gets things done. So in our relationships, we get very hazy, get very confused, get very indecisive, maybe, possibly, I don't know. It's just all elusive, right? And, in that kind of place, we can explore the dreamy type of, life within us. But this Capricorn is really not about that. It's really about the application, looking at how you're participating, looking at how you're actually building up these relationships and seeing them through. And what kind of relationships are you building up? Is this team actually giving you a more expanded awareness of what you can do? Is it giving you a sort of greater creative broadcast or greater creative transmission? Or is it something that doesn't activate you at all? Whatever it is, Capricorn has this thing, whatever it is, it should intimidate you somewhat, right? Like, whatever, if you're taking a course, in college, right? It should intimidate you somewhat. That means you're getting some grit, you're using some charisma, right? And that's what creativity is. That's what Renaissance is. People they have some gut, they have some nerve, right? And that leads to breakthrough, artistically, musically, scientifically, right? So it should intimidate you somewhat. It should feel intense somewhat. Meaning intensity is going to create the heat in you. It's going to create the pressure in you, right? It's going to initiate you. It's going to create a sort of surge of life through you, right? It'll make you lively. And then also it should be activational. So it should not be dull, mediocrity, like hazy, indecisive, confusing, moody, that kind of thing. It should be electrifying in many ways. Like you should feel the sort of chi within your mind, within your creative mind, within your body, within your chakras, moving in ways that give you a deeper access to your renewal. It should give you a deeper renewal, right? And I think in this sort of hazy thing, right? Why we get kind of locked into this hazy, indecisive, confused, maybe not type of relationships is a way to, I don't know, it could be like a mass sort of distraction, right? In this matrix show, this magic show, as a way so that we're not building up the sort of dedication, we're not building what we really need to be building within ourselves, the type of virtues, the type of knowledge, the type of relationships, the type of mindset. We allow that haziness to come in, and it's never the time, right? And that haziness basically within that haziness, it downloads all of these excuses, all of these whatever perceived blockages, these perceived limitations, perceived disabilities they have. Is just, instead of actually kind of building up within ourselves what we really need, like the confidence, the self-esteem, the self-worth, the meditative mind, the neutral mind, we're just, I don't know. That's the thing, I don't know. So Capricorn is like, hell with that. It's not I don't know. You do know, right? You have this creative surge of life force through you. You just need to build a connection to it, a relationship with it. Because that direction, that sort of intention will just not just come out of your ass. It's something like our whole ecosystem. Like if you go in a forest near your house, you're going to see this ecosystem. It took many, many generations to build up the relationship that every single species has with the squirrels, with the trees, with the fish in the pond, and the insects and all of that. All of these sort of species, of these groups of species, it took a building of a relationship over many generations for that to happen. So we're being asked with this Aquarian age, and you can see the sort of innovative minds, they have that sort of, when you ask the questions, they always have an innovative response. They always have a sort of response that is, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to participate, I'm going to have the knowledge, one or the other, right? I'm going to get it done, I will gain the knowledge, I will find a way, right? To fill in what it is that I need to fill in within the missing piece of what I need to really feel more confident and feel more direct and intentional. So Capricorn is, especially this time, right, very transformative time with this July 2020. This is really setting up for this 2021, 2022 onward, where we're going to really see people who are participating in their sort of creative flow. They're creating a relationship with themselves their creativity, and people who are just in the haze. You're going to see a difference. You're going to see people who are having this sort of built up character, and people who are just going to become the haze. They're going to be in these sort of programs, this sort of distraction, this sort of indecisiveness, this sort of excuses, moodiness. Oh, I don't want it. I don't want to be intense. I don't want intimidation. I don't want electrifying feeling. I don't want activation. And you're gonna actually be able to see what that kind of brings. It brings no action. It brings this sort of this non-action, right? Or it brings this sort of action, but the action has no activation to it, where it's just kind of, it's just hazy action. It's just maybe I don't know, just kind of winging it type of thing, right? Just okay, whatever, just do that, right? So that's what Capricorn is like, really that voice of reason that tells us to get real with what kind of expansion do you want to have. The wealth is equivalent to how much expansion you have in your life, and that is about the relationship with yourself, the relationship with your team, your lineage, your tribe, with the knowledge that you're gathering, and how you participate, and how you further dedicate yourself to it, and how you meditate upon it, and how you build up the type of virtues within yourself to be able to advance it, right? So we're getting to look at the kind of expansion that opens doors, right? That opens doors within people's psyche to basically feel direct and intentional and clear-headed. And then the kind of movement that does not open any doors for anybody, where we want to get out of this haziness, this kind of moodiness, this like elusive, like I don't know, maybe not maybe, like this sort of like you're hiding in the shadows, right? Or you're just not being direct with yourself. You're just like, okay, maybe, I don't know, right? So that's the kind of behavior that Capricorn is like with the Saturn, like, Saturn return. It's like it whips you. When you face that Saturn return, it shows you what the change needs to happen with the Renaissance, and needs to happen for you to actually do what you said you were going to do before you came in this life. Because a lot of times we say we're going to do things before this life, in the spiritual realm, and then we're born, we get hazed out, we get hazy for decades, hazed out in all these type of relationships that do nothing, relationship with ourselves, with whatever it is, that actually it's nothing for this sort of surge of profound creative energy. And then the Saturn return, the Saturn, the Capricorn sort of broadcast is so eye-opening. It's so transformative in the way that it really makes it clear to you you're following through. Do what you say, right? It really is that sort of like powerful, we can call wake up, right? Kind of wake up call. It really says, do what you say you're going to do before this life. Because a lot of times what we say we're going to do before this life is quite liberating, it's quite extraordinary, it's quite expansive. But then we come in this life, this haziness, this indecisiveness, this moodiness. Well, my parents did this to me, society did this to me, and we don't realize that that's all a part of the breakthrough. That's all a part is designed in such a way for us to have that wake up, for us to have the life lessons we need to break through whatever past life curses or past life ties or whatever sort of earthbound realities that we assigned ourselves to actually end, or to break through, or to deconstruct, or to heal, or to recover from, right? It's a part of our assignment that we agree to these particular things because we really want to crack open this new energy in our life. But it's like this crack open this new energy of life, just like any sort of forest or ecosystem. there's certain generations, there's certain lifetimes you must walk through. You must walk through them, right? It's like you can't like hop around and that type of thing. Like, no, maybe you have to walk through them. So these certain things that we go through incarnational, in the incarnational view, we have to go through them so that we can complete the lessons that we were assigned to, or that we got ourselves sort of in a trauma, or some sort of, we perceive curses with, or something that's unresolved. All of that is like, we have to work ourselves through it. And the more hazy we are, the more like, you know what, I feel like I'm going to resolve this connection. Oh, wait, get in the haze, and then you don't resolve it for 10, 20 years. And you're like in your 60s, right? But then you're so hazed out that you don't even really, you're numb to it. You're like, what? I don't even, what? I forget. I totally forget. And then what happens is you miss the lesson of that. It was intimidating, it was intense, it was electrifying, it was activational, because that is actually what was going to give you a quantum leap. It was going to give you a quantum leap. It is the quantum leap. What is intense, what is intimidating, what is activational, what is electrifying, it is the quantum leap. It is the quantum leap, right? And it's giving you the opportunity to expand your relationship to energy, and how you can move energy, how you can gain the knowledge of energy, and use that knowledge of energy to really develop the sovereignty of mind, to break through and debunk a lot of these taboos. Right? You want to debunk a lot of these taboos, right? And you want to, that sovereignty of mind is about you having the gut, the sort of vision to walk through the pilgrimage, right? With the desert, we'll say, the pilgrimage, like walking through the desert, to have that sort of vision, that sort of connection, that sort of relationship with that quantum leap, that intense, intimidating, like almost life and death. That's, many times you do things, you're like, this feels like life and death. That borderline Scorpio, like, life and death, right? That intensity, that intimidation, that sort of activation, electrifying thing is how people can work through 5 lifetimes in a single lifetime, right? Well, I see people like, looking at people's auras, I can see some people like, it's like they're repeating the same things, and that they've repeated all these other lifetimes. And when they get that thing, it could be a person, a situation, opportunity that is most intimidating, most intense, activational, and electrifying. The haziness, the elusiveness tells them that they're meant to live in this sort of standard of energy that could be more numbing, more kind of just like mediocrity, more like sort of half-assing it, right? Being indecisive and just like possibly, not possibly, they don't take it and get that sort of quantum leap energetically, right? It could be something subtle that you do. It could be like something you do for 48 hours. Like, let's say you're in India, and there's some sort of like a annual Indian type of meditation practice that's very, very vigorous for you. It could be mentally, spiritually, physically, all of the above. And when you decide not to take it, that's okay, right? Let's say you're sick or something, but when you decide to take it, or you're like, I'm gonna go for it regardless, or something like that, there's a sense of breaking through, debunking the taboos, right? And that's what that Capricorn energy is, because that's where we start to gain a real clear vision of what we need to dedicate ourselves to. And that could be different for everybody, right? But a dedication is your ability to practice, your ability to get very skillful at it, your ability to really build it up in you, whatever that is, really build it up with you. Have a very secure relationship with that. It could be your creativity, it could be something of your artistry, but something that brings wealth into your life. And I'm telling you what brings wealth, true universal wealth into your life, is usually the things that give you the sovereignty of mind, that really debunk the taboos, that really help you to break through the magic show and the hazy, elusive, like, oh, maybe, I don't know, that kind of thing, right? And usually that's something that's intense, something intimidating, something that's activational, electrifying, because that's transformative, right? And that elusiveness is kind of like we're drinking from the Kool-Aid that says, never change. That's what it's saying. As adults, we were like, never change. But then kids, they change every day. Every day, like, a kid wakes up and, like a little girl, and she's like, I don't like dresses anymore. I want to wear pants or something like that. And they completely reinvent themselves. That is actually where the real sort of partnership is with our own life force, is your ability to reinvent yourself, to change. Because wherever you go, there's new energy. And that you don't even have to necessarily leave your house to do that. It's just a change within your own sort of stream of energy, in the way that you move your body in new ways. Like, there are people who live in, like, a temple their whole life, and yet they have the most sense of creative movement than people who just travel around the world on their yachts and just, drinking wine or something. Because not so much about the movement of your, physical, it can be the travel, but it's the movement of your psyche. It's the movement of your psyche, right? That gives you the knowledge, that literally will give you the download of these traditions all across this planet. It'll just come to you. Like, one day you'll just wake up and you'll just have this great hunger for this new movement within your body, to realize that movement is a part of an ancient lineage that does that movement, has done that movement for thousands of years. And that's what happens when you start to connect and have that relationship with your sort of universal creativity, is that you become very exotic. You become ethnically associated with multiple cultures, multiple streams of thought. We call it the one type of consciousness, right? And that is what this Capricorn is trying to build up within us, and a dedication, a sort of dedication to our own expansion, to our own breath, to our own resilience, to our own life lesson, to our own initiation, to that kind of whip that says, do what you said you were going to do, right, in this life. And the universe is going to help you. The universe, like the Saturn return, will give you what you really want on a soul level, the wake-up call, right? Whenever Saturn comes, it's like a wake-up call, right? Whatever we're scared of or doubting or fearful about, of like, I don't want to do that or this, that, it comes to us in a ways that it's like, it's there. And Saturn is like, wake up to it, right? It's there. It's the door. Open the door, right? Move this new this new life force through your psyche and shed, right? So that's this full moon eclipse in Capricorn is very much about. So bring the hands together. Inhale. Exhale.